awesome Monday. Hopefully you're nice and warm, and if not, go get a blanket and make yourself nice and comfortable and cozy so we can get started on today's card reading with myself, Yana Kasperczak. Since I already introduced myself, Yana Kasperczak here, coming to you live from Ontario, Canada, where it is a little bit chilly, but I already got my blanket. I'm already nice and warm and cozy, so I'm ready to go. And my soul's purpose is to help you get your shit together so you can break free from that mental prison that you find yourself in and live the life that you are proud of and love to wake up to every single day. And you feel fulfilled in your everyday life, and it does not feel like a burden like it does to so many women, and especially mothers. Hey Rebecca, I can see comments in here. This is new. I guess Facebook has been listening and fixing and getting their shit together to make sure that the Facebook group allows me to see comments on here without having to go on my computer. So thank you, Facebook, for listening and for fixing that issue. So good morning, ladies. You're perfectly on time, as I'm literally just shuffling the cards to let us hear exactly what it is that we all need to hear today. Ooh, this looks nice, doesn't it? Athame, boundaries. Ooh, how many of you have had your boundaries crossed this weekend? Put your hands up. One hand, two hands. How many hands do you want to put up? If you had just the one boundary crossed and you dealt with it, you can put one hand up. But if you had even one boundary crossed and you didn't do anything about it, then you can put your two hands up, as if like, I give up, right? Because that's exactly what happens when we allow someone to cross our boundaries and we don't do anything about it. By not doing anything about it, what we're actually doing is we're telling the other person or people that we're okay being treated this way. So boundaries are important. And this one is going to be in the beginning. I have not seen this card before, so this is going to be a new one for all of us. So let's do it this way so you guys can see the pretty card. Rebecca put one hand up, so that means that you spoke up for your boundaries when they were crossed, and you stood up for yourself and for your boundaries, for what you value, or when someone crosses those values. Okay. Get to the point and draw the line. Athame appears as a warning sign. Attention claimed. Now cut those ties. Focus returned. Now you shall rise. This magic has worked with harm to none. So mote it be. There, it is done. Your intentions have been rather hazy of late. Have your intention been hazy of late? Meaning, have they not been clear? Or you feeling overburdened, overwhelmed, burnt out, tired, stressed out, and you're not feeling very driven with what you want, either from your day or from your life? Your intentions are, they're the most important thing. Just because we say this is what we want to do, or this is what kind of life we want to live, we can say all the things that we want as much as we want until we're blue or purple in the face, but our intentions are the very things that clearly say if this is what we want or not. Our intentions also involve our actions. If we say we want to live this type of a life and we're not doing anything about it, and we're not putting those important puzzle pieces together to make sure that we are actually living that life, then we might as well just, it's like hopeful thinking or wishful thinking, where we're just hoping and wishing that things are going to go the way that we want them to go so we can live the life that we want, but that is not going to happen. No amount of meditation is going to fix that stuff. No amount of praying is going to fix that stuff. but there is amount of doing, and the action setting and actually taking the steps towards those actions and intentions is what's going to help you get to where you want to get to. I spent a lot of when I started this journey of healing, there was a lot that I was going through, and there wasn't very much involved with actual action. There was wishing and hoping and praying, but not taking action on those intentions. My intentions were more like hopeful and wishful thinking. And when I recognized that what was happening, that, I said I wanted to go and do this program, because for me, I was going through programs, I was learning, and there was a big difference that I started noticing, that when I said I wanted to go through this program, my intention was to just sign up for it and that's it. And I thought that by signing up, everything would be resolved, but that's not how things work. How things work is that when I say yes to this program and I sign up to this program, that the intention was supposed to be, my intention is to not just to complete the program, but to embody the program. And only when I recognize that there is the difference between hopeful thinking and actual intention, or what intention is, that things started to change. And to me, that meant that knowing myself, knowing that I'm the type of a person, and I'll be the first one to admit that the program that worked for me would be the one that I had someone that held me accountable to going through the program, meaning that I would sign up to programs to go through the program all on my own, but that is not who I am. I never found those things fun. I always needed to have an accountability partner or a guide to take me through that program. So the programs that I did end up completing, because I understood myself and I understood what was important, were those that I had someone there to keep me accountable to do. So understanding that intentions have been rather hazy as of late, that there's something that you are doing in your life, or that you want to do in your life, and you know yourself best. You know that there's certain things that let's say a perfect example will be, you might want to be going for walks every single day, right? But you do not finding yourself going for those walks because to you, it might not be fun to go for that walk all alone by yourself, or all alone with just your dog. To you, it might be fun to have a friend or a buddy there to go and have that fun time with someone. So if you're that kind of a person, if you enjoy going for walks alone, then chances are you're already doing that. But if this is where knowing who you are at your core and how things actually work for you and help you to make sure that you do what you say you want to do, is by understanding yourself and how you work, you can set those intentions much more clearly. And with that walk, the intention would be, I want to go on that walk with my friend every single day, with this friend, with that friend, or with different friends, or maybe going as a group. And also understanding how you are. If you so for me, for example, I do better when it's one-on-one conversations with friends, and not a friend group gathering, because there's so much more, it's so much easier for me, and that's what I've learned over the years, that it's so much easier to not only manage my energy, but other people's energy in the group setting, and rather than, one-on-one than with the group. So for some of you, you might thrive in a group setting, and for the rest of you, you might thrive more on one-on-one when it comes to hanging out with friends. Now, also when it comes to, like I was talking about, going through a program, for some of you, you might thrive going through a program with someone one-on-one, or it might be in a group setting. Understanding what works best for you and how you work best and with who you work best. understanding your intention. Let's keep going with this. Your intention have been rather hazy of late. So get clear on your intentions, as I have just shared a little bit more about intentions and how they show up, and also bringing in who you are. Because by setting the intention and thinking this is who I want to be, might actually conflict with who you actually are. And if that conflicts, then you are not going to be successful with what you're actually trying to do and what you're working towards, and that intention itself. So nor are you giving the right signals about who and what you are. I didn't even read that sentence, but hey, here we go. When it comes to your intentions, you might not actually be saying to yourself and to the universe of what you're doing based on who you actually are. We're not here to change who you are at the core in all the ways that are uncomfortable. Some parts will be uncomfortable, but other parts are not going to be uncomfortable. Because when you are changing who you are at your core and it feels too uncomfortable, then it might not be so beneficial. So, and I'll put it this way, as I was talking about understanding who I am at my core, when it comes to friends, that I prefer hanging out with a friend one-on-one versus in a group setting where I'm hanging out with a bunch of friends as a group. And I say that because I have done both. I have experienced both, and I try to change who I am at the core by hanging out with a group of friends where in the end I ended up feeling like an outcast. And I know that perhaps most of it was in my head, but I don't like living in my head that way. I love being open and honest, and in a group setting, when I hang out in a group setting, it's more like when I'm the one leading, or in the sacred circle when we're actually doing something together, or when we get to share a little bit, but not hanging out with a bunch of friends who have their own unbalanced energies, and it just feels too much. And if it is a group of friends, then it honestly is more like a sacred circle, because I'm hanging out with a group of women who are in complete and total alignment with me, and all of us are in actual alignment, not just with me, but all of us are in alignment. And that is a different experience where it feels like it is just me and one person. So there was Laura. Laura said, here, yes, boundaries are a big issue with my daughter right now. Yeah, what you had shared with your daughter, it almost like sounds like it's a whole another realm. For her, it might be a different realm as well. And that is quite different. It is quite challenging. I'm not an expert in that area to help you set boundaries in such, I'm going to use the word extreme, because it does sound quite extreme at some moments, in extreme situations where there is some blaming happening that is quite unrealistic, and setting a boundary with that, I honestly wouldn't even, I might know where to begin, but I'm definitely not an expert in that area. So just because I would know where to begin, it might end in a different place. And in that area, I feel like you might be actually a lot more well-versed, Laura, because you have quite a bit of first-hand experience, and you've talked to quite a few experts that can help you in that area on how to set a boundary, because it still needs to be set when it comes to your daughter or your family, to keep yourself safe and protected. And then Laura said, the closer I get to graduation, the more she intentionally sabotages me, being disruptive while I am in a Zoom. I wonder what is it about you and your success that might be triggering her to want to bring you down and out of that place. That's the question that comes to mind. And then Laura said, regarding intentions, I have not been specific enough with myself or the universe. And when we're not specific, the universe will also be confused, so it gives us confusion back. It's like when you're having a conversation with someone and you're not sure what they're saying to you, how can you respond back? You can't. You just end up standing there like, okay, and just standing and waiting for clarity. So that's what the universe will be doing as well. It's going to be standing around and waiting for some clarity, and when you get a little bit of clarity, it will give you exactly what you're asking for when you are clear. And sometimes it might be exactly what you want, and sometimes it would not be. And this is where you get to play around with it and take more time to get a little bit more clear with that, and then go from that. And then Laura said, as to my daughter, I have to adjust my view of her as a mental patient and not my daughter, so I don't get into a victim mentality or take things so personally. Yeah, that might help. Like I said, I am not an expert with what you're going through, but how do I put it? It's like, let's think of an empath and a narcissist. Let's use, that yin yang, as I like to call it, the black and white. You have an empath who is sensitive and fragile and takes everything in and feels very deeply. And then you have a narcissist who is thriving on that energy drain from the empath. And what the empath's job is to cut off the energy supply from the narcissist, which can also end up triggering them. But then what about me? Why are you not paying attention to me? Look at me, pay attention to me. So they're going to be trying to get that energy from the empath. And it's empath's job to make sure that they not only set boundaries, and narcissists, usually a true narcissist, will not respect those boundaries. They will hear those boundaries as, ooh, that's what I'm gonna do next time to make sure that I get what I want to trigger, because they're listening and paying attention to what you're saying, to what you're doing, to what you're asking, to use that for their own gain and benefit. So I know there's usually what is recommended is to completely cut yourself off and get away from that narcissist. But when it comes to family, it is quite different. So that's why I am not an expert in that field. I can help you with you and your mindset and how you can start to detach yourself. Like you said, don't go into the victim mode, because that is also what's going to be fueling her or fueling that narcissist in your life, because this conversation can benefit any one of us. When we are just starting to awaken, we can start to recognize that there are some people in our life who are narcissistic, either true narcissist or narcissistic, and it is up to us to cut off that energy supply and not continue to feed them. What's another word? I forgot what the word is. Enabling them. That's the word, where we can, in a way, continue to enable that narcissist in our life that is draining our energy and making us feel like crap, and continues to bring us into that victimhood. That it's either you speak up and you speak your truth, and you set those clear boundaries, and if they're crossed, you stick to those consequences that you set. If you say you're going to do something, then do it. Don't just have empty threats. So when the boundary is crossed, you have the consequences there. Make sure that you stick to those consequences. And if it's crossed again, then you're going to stick to those consequences. Speak your truth every time you can. But if we're talking about a true narcissist, like I said, as much as I wish I could give the answers and help you to understand how to deal with a true narcissist, I am not a complete expert when it comes to that. There are many experts in the field, and there's actually even books on how to deal with a narcissist. That's the answer or response I have for that one. And then Debbie said, I missed the beginning of this video. It's not a very long beginning. You can hop on afterwards and watch that too. And Debbie said, I relate. Small groups are more personal. Yeah. And Debbie said, definitely. Laura said, thank you. You're welcome. And Rebecca said, Laura, that sounds like attention-seeking behavior. 100%. 100%. Laura, even if there is a mental disability at play, every behavior is either for attention or escape or access. The key is to ID the function of the behavior to know how to respond. Perfect. And then Kelly said, my daughter is a narcissist. I am an empath. It's been a dance through the years. I was the nanny for 19 years. Yeah, that definitely would sound like a dance that you might not have wanted to attend. Dealing with a narcissist who is trying to drain you and put you down and bring you down to make them feel something. To make them feel better about themselves. To make them feel like they have the power on you. That's where that drain technique typically comes from, where they want to feel better. They want to feel like they are above because they don't want to feel below. When they feel low, they're going to find the next one around them who is weaker in their mind and take some of the energy from them to feel worthy, to in a way also feel seen and heard, because now they know me, they have heard me, and they're going to be thinking about me. And by us feeling bad, going into that victim state or feeling angry, becoming the fighter, what is happening is that by simply even staying in the thoughts of that person, that individual, that energy is sent to them. So an example would be, I'm sure all of you have experienced this, and this is how energy actually works. When you think about a person, and you're thinking about them positively, negatively, regardless. Let's give an example of our moms. Sometimes with our moms it works, or a sibling, or your partner, or maybe one of your kids. That when you're thinking about them, and maybe you want to have a conversation with them, and you're thinking, I want to call them, want to have a conversation, I want to message them, or you're angry at them and you want to have a conversation about what you're upset about. What you might notice is that not long after that, that person might end up reaching out to you. So what has happened while you were thinking about them, you were sending your energy to them, and they were feeling and receiving that energy, and they were thinking about you as well. And this is how energy works. That's why the more you dwell and stay in that victim when something has happened, especially with a narcissist, is they have already forgotten. They have already moved on because they got the energy they wanted, and they will continue to receive it when you spiral out of your mind, out of control. And when you're doing that, you're sending that energy to that person. And even though they have already stopped thinking about it, they've already moved on, they said what they wanted to, they unloaded on you, the rest is your problem, not theirs. That's a true narcissist. And then all of us have narcissistic behaviors, but not all of us are actual narcissists. Level 1, which is the victim, when we go into the victim and thinking, victim kind of thinking, that is actually narcissistic behavior as well. When we are angry and upset and we want to express or want to express, it's also narcissistic behavior. And what helps to understand why is it narcissistic is because ego itself is the narcissist. And when we're thinking self-centered and we are thinking about, what about me? Do you not see me? Do you not hear me? That is what is considered to be narcissistic. Now, an actual narcissist will express that outwardly and make sure that they're seen and heard, and they will take that. Whereas an empath will experience that within themselves and in a way end up then beating themselves up and putting themselves down and drain their energy. And when that also happens, there's someone else is involved and the energy sent to that person. And hence why we feel tired, drained, exhausted, overwhelmed, and we don't see, how this started. Your intention have been rather hazy of late. Is that if you have sent a lot of energy out, you feel drained, and you feel hazy, you feel unclear, you feel tired and exhausted and overwhelmed. Because you have given and given and given. And even though whatever has happened has already happened and, it's no longer here, your mind is still in that place and your body might still be in that place, in that state. And the energy leaves your body towards that person. It leaves your body. It's like as if you are a battery, you're taking your charge and you're giving it away to someone else who might not be deserving of that energy, but you are. So instead of, and it takes practice as well. It takes practice because in the practice itself, the goal would be to understand yourself, to know yourself and who you are. And that is what is going to help you to take that energy and give it back to yourself versus giving it out to someone else. And understanding yourself at your core, who you actually are. Let me quickly finish with the comments. And then Rebecca says, Laura, I grew up with a grandmother who had schizophrenia. I was a child and she would cuss me out. I knew she didn't mean it, but it was still hard to be a punching bag. Yeah, but just because you don't, especially as a child, even though she doesn't mean it, it's very difficult not to let it in. And as an adult, you become fragile in those type of experiences where it resembles your childhood or past traumas, where you feel re-triggered and you almost go back to that girl, to that child now as an adult. And this is where really understanding who you are and finding ways that work for you to detach yourself from who you are and who other people around you want you to be based on how they talk to you and what other people think of you and how they express that to you. Akela said, I was definitely a second fiddle with intentional eye on her to build her confidence at all times. I do hear this very often where we as parents or we as partners feel that we are the ones responsible to help them rebuild their confidence. When after everything's said and done, and it is not our responsibility. And as much as we want that for other person, if we want them to be confident, that's not something that they might want themselves. It makes me think of that phrase or quote, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Until that horse realizes that it's thirsty, that it wants that confidence, it won't do anything. It will reject everything, and it will see that help as potentially even invasion of the privacy, or you trying to change me and I don't want you to change me, and they will rebel against that. So until they're the ones that realize that that is what they want, until they realize that they are that horse that is thirsty for that confidence, they're not going to do anything about it. And when they realize it, then they will start doing what they need to do or what they want to do about it. And if they ask for help, then you can help them. But if they don't, they're not. And I know it's challenging as mothers, as a mother, for me to see that there's a child who is not confident, but it's also our interpretation, our assumption. They might actually be confident, or they might be confident at least in one or two areas of their life. And that by simply them focusing on that one or two areas in their life where they are confident, that confidence will seep through the rest of their life. So that's how we can help our children, by helping them to just focus on those areas without pushing and forcing them, depending on their age as well. At certain ages, yes, we need to push them, not force them, but push them in the way that works for them and not feels like an actual push. Encouraging and motivating them and getting them to see that this is their idea and not us getting them to do it. And then Kelly said, I was the felon. Okay, that one you said. The second one, the target to hurt was the children. She knew that that would most upset me verbally, or a side comment on something completed in the house that day. Wish to hold my tongue. So it sounds like a passive-aggressive kind of a behavior, where this one I've heard quite a bit, and some people actually don't realize that they're doing it. I worked with women who would become housewives, and what they would do is they would clean the house, and there would just be dishes left in the sink to dry, but everything else is clean. So their husband would come home, and the only thing that he would see and notice would be those dishes drying in a drying rack, and pointing those dishes out and not seeing anything around that has already been done. It's just like, it's almost like coming in just to see what's wrong instead of seeing what's right. It's like seeing the field of beautiful flowers, and among that field of beautiful flowers, there's one thorn that is growing in the middle. Some people will look at that thorn and not see the beautiful field. Some people will see those drying dishes in the drying rack and not see the beautifully clean house. And that's not to say that is narcissistic behavior, but that's not to say that that person is a narcissist. They might actually have a mindset where if they, let's say if that person had refinished doing, let's say, a bedroom, that they would focus on their mistakes and their failures and not see all the other things that they have done. They just focus on the negative, and that also shows us how they themselves focus on what they're doing in their life, and they're seeing their failures and not seeing their successes. So how people talk to us and how people communicate with us, number one, if we allow it, then that means that we're teaching them how to communicate with us. And number two, it lets us in on how their mind works and operates. Like I said, that they might be the type of a person who just focuses on the one little thing that they did wrong versus everything else that they did right. And because their program that they have received growing up is beating themselves up punishing themselves with this one thing, and how they express themselves outwardly shows us how they live their life inwardly. Just by paying attention to how people talk to us, we can also hear how they were raised and how they were brought up. And sometimes we might be the parents that brought them up, and we might not recognize that this is how we were communicating with them until later on, until we start noticing these behaviors coming through our kids. And that becomes an opportunity for us to uncover those behaviors within ourselves and edit them and help our kids to do the same thing without shaming and blaming them. Okay, so Kelly said dirty mirror syndrome. Yeah, I think someone commented on that. Okay, I will keep going with this card reading and check out the comments a little bit later. Where were we? Because I didn't even get too far. I think it was just the second sentence that I got through. Okay, I'll actually review those two sentences and we'll keep going. Your intentions have been rather hazy of late, nor are you giving the right signals about who and what you are. In fact, do you actually even know who you are at this very moment? It's time to finally focus and get to the point. You cannot expect to be taken seriously if you have not set your boundaries. That is very true. You cannot expect to be taken seriously if you have not set your boundaries. People will continue to walk all over you and take advantage of you. For by not doing so, you will find that others cross the line by taking advantage of you, not respecting either your space or you. Your natural energy is being drained, drawing your attention unnecessarily to others instead of what is really important, to you. Athame offers to cut ties with those who no longer serve your highest purpose. This doesn't necessarily mean that you will banish those people from your life, only that you won't be taking on their energetic demands, which are drawing you away from your true purpose. Mentally ask the power of Athame to cut those cords in perfect love and perfect trust, and your vitality and focus will return. So mentally ask, so you can meditate. It reminds me of cord cutting. When you do a meditation on cord cutting or cutting a cord, that you would mentally ask the power of Athame to cut those cords in perfect love and perfect trust. That there is perfect love and there's perfect trust. That you trust that everything will work out in the way that it's meant to. That you trust and love the other individual, knowing that they can handle everything and anything. That they are stronger than you know and stronger than they know and believe as well. Each and every one of us is stronger than we think and believe. And your vitality and focus will return to you. Which is foresight. You are being diverted from your path. Focus on what is truly important. Honor your beliefs and yourself. Don't give in to the superficial demands of others. Set clear boundaries. You would benefit from energy healing. Set clear boundaries and do some energy healing. There are an enormous amount of videos on YouTube that can help you, a guided energy healing that you can do on YouTube, that you can follow and heal your own energy. Another thing that had really helped me was binaural beats. Put your headphones in, turn on some binaural beats, and you can type in YouTube binaural beats for energy healing, or energy healing binaural beats, and listen to that. Listen to those sounds. You can just no matter what you're doing throughout the day, you can listen to them. Even if you're listening to them in the background, it's still going to have an effect and benefit on you and for you. When you're sleeping, that is also going to be an amazing time for you to listen to those. Now, it might not be so comfortable with headphones, but you can listen to it as you're falling asleep. And when you actually fall asleep, then you can take them out, or they can just fall out. But when you are sleeping, you're completely open and relaxed, and anything that is around you, it goes right into your subconscious. And the reprogramming happens without you even being fully awake and aware of what's happening. How amazing is that? That's how amazing our brains are, and our bodies are. Athame revealed. The Athame is used for the ritual purpose of casting a circle, cutting ties, directing energy, or to cut and reseal a door in a ritual circle. It is one of the 4 elemental magical tools used in traditional witchcraft. It represents the element of fire and is the masculine principle, evoking the act of procreation in conjunction with the chalice. So, I would really love to hear, now that we're done this whole entire reading, what is your biggest takeaway from everything that you have heard, whether you watched from the beginning or not? What is your biggest takeaway? What is your aha moment that you got, that you received while you were on here with me? And the second part of the question is, what are you going to do today about this realization, this aha moment, this big takeaway that you got? Because that will help me and help you to understand your intentions a little bit more on where you are and what you want to do with where you are, and how willing are you actually to do something about it today and not put it off until tomorrow, or until when I feel like it. Because too often we end up doing that. Too often we say we want something, but we do nothing about it because there is that lack of intention. And by saying I'm going to do this, that is intention. Intention disguising itself as action towards what you actually want. Debbie said, stronger boundaries and speak more clearly with better communication. Love that. Love the stronger boundaries and speaking more clearly with better communication. And if I could ask to be more specific, is there one specific boundary in particular that you want to speak more clearly about and communicate it better? Because by being more specific, it helps us to become more intentional. Because with boundaries, there's numerous amount of boundaries that we can put under this boundary umbrella. But when we focus in on this one specific boundary, it, number one, is more intentional, and number two, we get a lot more clear on what is it that we actually want when it comes to boundaries, by identifying this one boundary and then identifying the next boundary and the next boundary, and then setting maybe sometimes a plan or steps of how we're going to put those boundaries in place is going to be helpful. Okay, so that is all that I have for you ladies for today. Thank you very much for being on here with me and sharing yourselves and sharing your experiences and your journeys with me. I know it is not always an easy one. Sometimes it is challenging to share with others what we might be going through, what we're experiencing, for the fear of they're not going to hear me, they're not going to understand me or relate to me. But a lot of our fears they are just that. They are fears and not actual realities. And most of our fears don't even come to fruition. They don't even, 99% of our fears, they never come to reality. But they hold us back. They do. And when we face our fears, that is when we start to live the life that we want to live. In the overcoming of our fears, we discover and really learn who we are versus who we're not. Because our fears, their job is to keep us safe. And by keeping us safe, what tends to happen is it keeps us away, or those fears, they keep us away from being who we actually are. For the fear of persecution, for the fear of rejection, for the fear of being left alone and not having anything or anyone. And that is something that scares every single human being. Nobody wants to be alone or feel alone. But how many of you actually have a lot of people in your life and still feel alone? And why do you think that is? Why do you think that you feel alone or you feel lonely when you have so many people in your life, all around you, everywhere, and you still feel alone and feel lonely? The answers that I have heard were leading back to the same place, because they're scared to be their true self. They're scared to be themselves, because it's easier to feel a rejection when we are trying to be someone we're not, when we're trying to be someone for our husband, for our daughter, for the other daughter, for our son, for our mother, for our father, for this friend, for that co-worker, for that co-worker, for our boss, for this stranger, for that stranger. When we're trying to be someone for all of these people, we're playing a masquerade, that we are scared to take all these masks off and be seen for who we are, because we are scared that we're going to get rejected. Because in our past, we tried to be ourselves with our parents, with our siblings, with our friends, and we felt rejected. And then we learned how to play the masquerade game, and now we're scared to unlearn to play that masquerade game, because it's comfortable being uncomfortable, because it's familiar. And now we want to live the life based on who we are and show up as who we are. And that is what a lot of us human beings are scared of, being actually seen and heard as who we are and not who we're trying to be. So that's the wrap up. So thank you for tuning in to this card reading today with me. Hopefully this one was a good one for you, and that you got some takeaways for yourself to help you be more of who you are and less of who you are not. And until next time we see each other, whether it's going to be tomorrow at the Sacred Circle at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, or also tomorrow where I go live on my personal page with story time with myself, Yana Kasperczak, where I bring you either a story or an experience and help you go deeper into understanding yourself, who you are, and not who you're being, so you actually can start to break free from that mental prison that you had created for yourself unconsciously at a very young age to protect yourself from everyone around you. And locked yourself in there, and now it's time to get out of there so you can actually live the life that feels meaningful and fulfilling to you, and that you actually want to wake up to every single day and not sleep in. Yeah, so that's all. Thank you, and until we see each other next time. Bye guys.